Hi, I'm Jake. Welcome. Pathfinder 2 videos all the time. Continuing with Howl of the Wild, Clawdancer archetype. Nature provides many creatures weapons for hunting and defense, but few are as common and simple as the claw. The claw! Whether for climbing, catching, or rending, claws are an indispensable tool for any limbed denizen of the wild. Humanoid species with these weapons often take pride in such a gift, developing clawed combat into an art. Dude, you're in the way. Lay down. Lay down. Lay down. Catfolk of southern Tian Sha are particularly adept at fighting with their claws. They call their style the Knives of Valash, and prioritize rapid strikes mixed with sharp grapples to pin a foe in place. The style's practitioners, sometimes called knives themselves, patrol the wilds, honing their skills against the many dangers there. Once an acolyte rises sufficiently in rank, they're sent out across Galarian to explore and sharpen their claws. I love that. It's a great way to say go on a pilgrimage. Those who perfect their art over the years often return to Tian Sha to teach the next generation of the style. It's a weird way to put that. Anyway. Clawdancer dedication, level 2 feat. Prerequisites: permanent unarmed claw or talon attack, such as one granted by your ancestry or a graft. I love that they made a thing in this book that allows you to take ancestries that you otherwise wouldn't qualify for. The grafts for claws and stuff. Grafting a tongue, that'd be weird. Where would it attach? I don't need to be wondering that. You've practiced the art of fighting with your natural claws, hooking them into prey and thrashing at targets surrounding you. You gain the following 2 actions which let you assume specific stances to strike more effectively with your claws. Claw stance, 1 action. Stance. Effect: you extend the claws in your hands and focus your attention to take down single targets. The only strikes you can make are frenzied claw unarmed attacks, like many other monk stances. Most of them. These deal 1d6 slashing damage, are in the brawling group, and have the agile, finesse, grapple, unarmed, and versatile piercing traits. Talon stance, 1 action. Stance. Effect: you sway in a loose stance that lets you sweep in wide arcs with the claws on your feet. The only strikes you can make are spinning talon unarmed attacks, but that would be awesome to shout out in combat, so that's great that you can only make those attacks. These deal 1d8 slashing damage, are in the brawling group, and have the finesse, sweep, and unarmed traits. You don't need a free hand to use spinning talon strikes, because they're your feet, not your hands. Next feat, level 4, Claw Snag. Reaction: trigger, a creature attempts to escape while you have them grappled or restrained. You hook into the target, pulling yourself forward and rending flesh. Shift into claw stance if you aren't in it already, then make a frenzied claw strike against the triggering creature. Because that stance is supposed to be for one-on-one, and I love that you can just hit them while they're trying to pull away from you. You like dig in and yank, and that's your attack. It's just a cool cinematic, much like there are a few different archetypes in this book that are very cinematic in feel, and this is one of them. The Thlipit Contestant is as well. Next feat, level 4, Dashing Pounce, 2 actions, Flourish. Requirements: you are in claw stance and have 2 open hands. With a burst of speed, you leap into the air, slashing with your hands. You leap, and if you end your movement adjacent to an enemy, you make 2 frenzied claw unarmed strikes against it. Apply your multiple attack penalty to these strikes normally. If both strikes miss, you fall prone at the end of your leap. This is really good because it's a level 4 feat that saves you an action in combat. That's pretty low for extra actions. That's really cool. Next feat, level 4, Talon Sweep. Reaction: trigger, a creature attempts to strike you while it's flanking you. Your long clawed legs let you catch enemies to either side. You shift to Talon stance if you weren't in it already. If the strike misses, your enemy strike, you can make a spinning talon strike against any creature flanking you. This feels like Matrix style fighting. Like there's lots of reaction and being involved in your opponent's actions. It's neat. I like the way this archetype is depicted. Whoever wrote this is done well. Next feat, level 6, Abscission Shards. 1 action. Requirements: your last action was a successful frenzied claw or spinning talon strike. You twist your claw, breaking off a piece in your target. The shard deals 1d6 persistent bleed damage. This increases to 2d6 if your unarmed attacks deal 3 weapon damage dice, such as under a greater striking rune, and 3d6 if they deal 4 weapon damage dice. I think that should be piercing damage, not bleed damage. But I understand balance, it's supposed to be bleed. I don't know why that matters. But it's a shard. They keep moving. It would keep cutting. Because it's a little, like, when you have a splinter in your hand, you grab something, it's not bleed damage, it's piercing. Anyway, overthinking it. Next feat, level 6, Wheeling Grab, 1 action. You cartwheel on your claws. Oh, sorry, you have to be trained in acrobatics as well. You cartwheel on your claws, dancing over your foes. You shift into claw stance and tumble through. If you move through an enemy's space, you can grapple it. This is great. It's a flourish, so you can only do it once, once per turn. This is fun. This is just so very fun. This whole archetype seems very ninja-ish. Next feat, level 6, Hindquarter Kick. 1 action. Requirements, you are in claw stance and have grabbed a creature. You hold your prey's defensive limbs in place with your claws while delivering a swift kick to their unprotected sides. Shift to talon stance and make 2 spinning talon strikes against the grabbed creature. Apply your multiple attack penalty to these strikes normally. You then release the grabbed creature. I don't like that it applies the normal strikes. I wish that it would only count that after the first 2 attacks. This essentially saves an action. You're getting 2 strikes for the cost of 1 action. It's also cool and cinematic. You grabbed somebody with your claws, and then you, like, push off of them to use your feet to claw the shit out of them. Angry kitty claw. That's cool. Next feat. Level 6, Spinning Stand, 1 action or 2. Requirements, you're prone. You flare your legs around, using the momentum to both lash out and return to a standing position. You enter Talon Stance if you weren't in it already. Make a spinning Talon strike against an enemy in reach, and then stand. You don't take the -2 circumstance penalty for attacking while prone, and your stand action doesn't trigger reactions. You can spend 2 actions using Spinning Stand to make 2 spinning Talon strikes instead of 1. These strikes must be against separate targets. This does almost nothing more than the level 7 feat, skill feat, Kip Up. People don't get to make reactive strikes on you if you're using Kip Up either. This is 1 level early, and it does basically the same thing. I know it's related to attacks as well, but you could always just Kip Up as a free action and then take your 2 attacks. I don't like this because there's something that does most of it that's about the same level. So I don't see the reason to take it. I guess you can take it for a level and then ask your GM if you can trade out the feat. Next feat, level 8, Tear Tendons, 2 actions. Requirements, you are in claw stance and have 2 open hands. You rake into your opponent with 2 claws, cutting into their muscle and depriving them of needed strength. Make 2 frenzied claw attacks against the same target, increasing the multiple attack penalty normally. If both attacks hit, the target must succeed at a fortitude save against your class DC or be enfeebled 2 for 1 round. If it critically fails, it's instead enfeebled 2 for a minute. That's the whole combat. This is quite good and useful. Giving conditions while you're hitting people anyway is great. This is just a bonus. Take it. Next feat, level 8. Feline Dance. Reaction, Fortune. Interesting and uncommon. Access, Catfolk Ancestry. Frequency once per hour. Trigger, you attempt a basic reflex save. Requirements, you're in either claw stance or talon stance, which you're always going to be in one. You fluidly move between stances in the process of dodging. Roll the save twice and take the higher result. If you were in claw stance, you shift to talon stance and vice versa. I like that this is a play on the Catfolk's luck feats anyway. I guess I see why they're saying access Catfolk Ancestry, just because it's a nod to that ancestry. But I don't think that should restrict you at all from taking this, because it's awesome. Gaining advantage on... This is great. This is great. Why wouldn't you take this? You gain advantage on a reflex save. Next feat, level 10, Hunting Snag. Flourish. Trigger. A creature within your reach uses a move action or leaves a square during a move action it's using. Learning from nature's predators has taught you how to keep your prey close. Make a claw or talon unarmed strike on the triggering creature. If it's a critical hit and the trigger is a move action, disrupt that action. If it hits and the creature left a square adjacent to you, you can step into that square. Awesome. As a reaction, you get to hit somebody, you can disrupt their action, and move. That is a great economy of a feat. Is just totally useful. This is going to be useful in a lot of fights. Springboard 1 action. Requirements. Your previous action was a successful spinning talon strike against an adjacent foe. You use the power of your leg lashing out to spring off your foe and leap toward another. Your talon descending in a crescent. You leap, which doesn't trigger reactions from the enemy you struck. If you land within melee reach of an enemy, you can choose to make a spinning talon strike against them. This is like the most in-world impressive fighting archetype. Because it's not, a wrestler. You're not just like grabbing somebody and throwing them on the floor or sitting on their head. I mean, I don't know exactly how all those look. But this totally feels like a Japanese martial arts movie. I like it a lot, especially the feel. Level 12 feat. Claw and Talon Flow. 1 action, Flourish. Requirements, you're in either Claw stance or Talon stance, obviously. You fluidly shift between your 2 stances. You use the unarmed attack associated with your current Clawdancer stance, then switch into the other stance. If you're in Claw stance, make a Frenzied Claw strike, and then shift to Talon stance or vice versa. This is really useful for just making sure you're in the right stance at every moment to be able to use the right trait for the right situation at all times. Like sweeping or grappling. Next feat, level 14. Precise Hooks. Your body is a varied and deadly weapon. When you critically hit a target with your claw or talon, you can apply a critical specialization effect based on the stance you're in. For claw stance, apply the knife weapon group's effect. For talon stance, apply the axe group's effect. These effects are in addition to the claws or talon's normal critical specialization effect if you apply it. That's interesting because you get the brawling weapon group's effect from the critical specialization if you have it at this point. Plus either knife or axe. An axe lets you do a little bit of additional damage to an enemy that's near the one that you just hit. And the knife gives bleed, so you do the knife pretty much all the time because bleed. But not necessarily. There might be some situations where you just want to finish that dude off and they'll die if they take 2 extra damage. Sure. But otherwise, level 14 is a long time to wait to add a little bit of bleed or basically splash damage. I don't like it. It doesn't do enough for me. Level 14. It just... there's other crap you can take at level 14 that's much more useful than this. Next feat. Last feat. Level 16, Storm of Claws, 3 actions, Flourish. Requirements, you're in either Claw stance or Talon stance. You lash out with your clawed limbs like a beast that has fallen upon its first meal in days. Then back off to see your handiwork. Strike 3 times, with your multiple attack penalty increasing as normal. After each attack that hits and deals damage, you can step. That's great. Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, all right. I mean, you're level 16. You're going to take it. All it really does is give you a little bit more movement on the battlefield, but it looks really cool. Yeah, I guess I'm not all that impressed by it. It's convenient for managing where people are on the battlefield, but not nearly as good at doing it as the Thlipit Contestant. Meh. I guess I would stop taking this archetype after level 12. Because level 12 just gives you more ability to not have to pay much attention and just switch into stances easily while still hitting things. But if you're paying attention to it and you don't have to bother with that, I'd probably stop it at 10 because 10 has some useful, cool feats. Yeah. I'm a little bit sad that there are not more impressive feats later on. What is it with feats later on seeming cool, but adding 2 damage? Level 16. How much damage are you doing in a single hit. Like Robert in our live play, his little halfling swashbuckler does like 4d6 plus 1d6 plus 3d6 plus strength plus, I think, 4? He's at level 10. This is level 16. And, like, you're getting a little bit more movement. It doesn't seem like it's great, man. Come on. Or the one before that. The you deal a little bit more damage to the bleeding damage, or the 2 or 3 extra damage to an enemy next to them. That doesn't really matter either. Not at that high level. It's pretty. This archetype is pretty. And up to level 10, it has some really fun options. You're totally just dancing around. Well, yeah, Clawdancer. That makes sense. That's the Clawdancer archetype. There's more Howl of the Wild coming. Can you believe it? I know there's like still more to squeeze out of this book. No, it's not even squeezing. Like it's fruit that's just fallen from the book that I pick up. There's just so much stuff in this book. Why wouldn't you get this book? It's awesome. And the story in it is pretty cool too. But it's really, really neat for players. I appreciate you spending some time with me today. And if you're a patron, thank you for being with me all the time. I appreciate all of you guys. Peoples. If you want to see the rest of the Howl of the Wild series, the playlist is here. If you want to see some other archetype videos, because I have a bunch of them over here. Mwah. Bye-bye.